Yay! You know what's terrible? I hate this background. I'm gonna have to change it. It is going to bother me if I don't change it. And you know what? If it will let me do it on live, I won't count us down again. Ah, yes,
There we
football.
go. There we go. I
And
like
that's
it.
staying. I'm not editing out. It's going to stay because that's how I roll.
I
So
love it.
so as I mentioned before, I kind of, now that I've had some time to think about it, I think I know how I'm going to release these videos. So this spiel is going to get old by the time people have to hear it over and over and over every week. But the week that this video is going to release is going to be the week before the season starts. So I'm calling that out though here because we're recording in July. So if when you listen to this recording, if something has happened that we don't talk about, or if there's breaking news, and you're like, why didn't they talk about this? Why didn't they talk about that? It's because we recorded this in July. So just FYI. And I will say we recorded this on the day, and I think Texas just landed a big recruit because my Twitter's going crazy right now. So that did happen literally, I think 7 minutes ago, according to Twitter. So that did happen. But other than that, this is in July. So don't hold us to any standard of anything that happens after the date of this recording. So our reputations are at stake for that matter. But obviously I have Hardge here. We have had conversations before about the Dallas Cowboys. Now we get to talk about a real program that we trust, that we think is on the right track, that we think is doing
We're hopeful.
things.
We're hopeful.
Right. Like we get to be hopeful and nobody thinks we're crazy. So it's nice to be on the other side of it and have a team that is doing all things. So for the people that don't know you, I would love for you just to introduce yourself. I did manage to actually hit send on the email to him, so he was able to read that for about 7 minutes. So there shouldn't be anything I surprised and asked, but just in case, I would love for you to just like introduce yourself so people know who you are. And then we can talk about a little bit about you, how you're in this space. And then obviously we'll talk a bunch of Texas football.
Well, thank you for having me, T. I appreciate you having me on your show. I've been following it for a while. You're doing a great job. Your content is blowing up, and the people that you interview give you great information. So keep up the good work. I am Mike Harball Hardge. You can listen to me Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. on AM 1300 The Zone, and I am the host of the Hardge Knocks Life. I've been covering Texas athletics for quite some time now as a former recruit for the University of Texas for football and baseball. I've been around the program for a long, long time. So for me, doing this job as far as being the host and being part of the flagship station for the University of Texas is something that I do not take lightly. You know, as well as I do, there's a lot of people that have created a bunch of content and they all do great jobs. So you have to make sure that you're on top of your game at all times. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of behind the scenes. It's a lot of hustling. It's a lot of knowing everybody that you need to talk to. But I truly, truly am thankful for this opportunity to be able to cover a team that for a while, let's just be honest, they were hard to follow. I mean, it was a tough go. And now we're in a part where we're on the cusp of something good. We really hope we're on the cusp of something good. And someone asked me this the other day, and I had to sit back and think about it. We finished the conversation, but then I went back and he asked me, he said, do you feel like Texas is ready to take that turn around the corner to getting back to who they were before? And I said, I am hopeful that is where we are, but I also have to be cautiously optimistic in certain situations. Yes, Texas is a team that has the ability to be in that moment because of what you just said. They got a flip at the time of our recording. They got a guy that was originally going to Oregon. Now they have them in their midst. But I also understand, too, these are 17, 18, and 19-year-old kids who legitimately just flipped to Texas. So that means that there may be some more flipping that happens within this time of our recording. But I also look at Texas as a place that, with Coach Sark's leadership, the camaraderie that the coaches have, and the ability to go and get the top-notch players to answer my guy's question? And I said yes at that time. But as I went back and thought about it, I'm like, yes, they are on that cusp, but I think they're really about to accelerate and turn that corner.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, they have everything they need. Let's say that. So now it's just a matter of you literally have everything you need. You have the money you
Absolutely.
need, you have the stadium, you have the backing, you have the recruits, you have the players, you have the development, you got people into the NFL. Like you literally have done every marker of what you're supposed to do. So now, like I always say, we can talk about this for 17 days, but it doesn't matter what happens until you enter on that field and the ball
Yep,
kicks off. Like nothing
exactly.
else. So it just kind
Nothing
of is what it is.
matters.
The other thing is too, is I've been following you longer than you've known I've existed, which is fine because I've been listening to you on Ready for a while. A lot of people probably that will watch this, it's my audience. It's like new to me. That's like learning about the teams I like and things like that. We'll be curious to know, how did you become a Texas fan? Like how did you pick Texas? Let me just say it that way, because I already know the answer, so I'm kind of cheating. So I'm like, how did you
Yeah,
pick
yeah,
Texas?
yeah, yeah, yeah. As a young kid, I grew up in Killeen, Texas, right up the road from here, 45 minutes away. And for a long time in my life, and I was a football player. I grew up, my dad played football, my uncle played football, everybody in my family played football. So I was always enamored with football. Played at the boys club, did everything. And when I got a chance to watch Texas play as a young kid, they had a black quarterback named Donnie Little. He was the first black quarterback at the University of Texas. And
Mm,
that to me made me realize that I could possibly be a quarterback at the University of Texas, because I've seen quarterbacks all over the country. Oklahoma at that time was running a wishbone. They were the talk, right? They were
yeah.
the team, and they had a bunch of great players. And a lot of people thought that I was going to end up going to Oklahoma. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. Then they thought I was going to go to Nebraska because they were running the veer offense, and I was a quarterback that could run and do some different things, strong arm. And so it was one of those situations, but there was something that always drew me to the University of Texas. Eric Metcalf was one of my biggest idols, I guess you could say. And now we're friends and peers. Kenny Sims was a monster on the defensive line, and now we're friends. And so during those times when you get a chance to watch a team, and people always ask, Texas, Texas. And I was like, there's just something about the University of Texas football team that always drew it to me. But I was also a baseball player, so I always knew about them going to the College World Series, top-notch players that were there. And I just felt like this was the place for me. And then I just kept it going since I was a kid. And now even to this day, even though I follow the team and I have to report on the team, I'm still a fan of it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so hard for you not to be a fan. I mean, you're not supposed to be when you're in the media, but everybody always had their teams, and I can't just turn it off.
Right.
So when people always ask me, "You're a homer," I'm like, "No, I'm very critical. I think I'm fair, but my weekends are screwed up if they don't play well." You know what I'm saying? Because then I got to come back and criticize them and break it all down. And I go through my stages of it. Okay, pregame,
You
I'm
do.
trying to preview everybody. Then after postgame, people are coming to me. What did you think? What did you think? And I'm like, let me process me.
Yep.
And then
That's
on Monday, I got to be able to bring the truth and
yeah.
talk about what I see. So it's a unique situation. But I've been a Texas Longhorn fan since as long as I can remember.
I think that's what as of this recording, I haven't decided what I'm going to do during the season because obviously I have 3 teams, but it's creating content is hard. I
Mhm.
don't think people realize how hard it is to create content. But then when you're a fan, and I'm
It's a
crazy enough to
job.
have
It's
three,
a job.
yeah, and I'm crazy enough to have 3 teams that in a lot of ways, all of them are kind of hot for different
Mhm.
reasons. And I don't want to just go through and be like, okay, well, they ran the ball 7 times. And then because first of all, that's not me. And second
Right.
of all, like, who wants to hear that crap? So I'm
Right.
also thinking, like, how can I do this in a way that keeps me excited? Because I think that's part of creating content that people forget, that I have to want to do this and give my critiques. Because one thing about me is I'm going to critique, boy. Like, I
Right.
might not be anything, but I'm going to keep it real when it comes to my critiques because
Right.
I have a lot to say. So I
Right.
understand that completely. And I don't think a lot of people get that moment. So I appreciate you sharing that. So I'm actually curious what you're going to say to this. This isn't the question, but I'm curious to know what
Okay,
you're going to
I
say. The
got
next
you.
question is, what have been like your favorite moment or your favorite couple of moments to cover as you've been in this space of all radio, because you get to talk trash to your friends? Like, what are some
Yep.
things what are some areas that Texas has allowed you to talk trash and that you appreciated that moment from them?
Well, this first one that I appreciate the most of it doesn't have anything to do with the University of Texas. It has the way of me being able to go to the national championship game, Alabama versus Georgia, in the Georgia Dome, in the Mercedes-Benz Georgia Dome. It was when Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa were the quarterbacks.
Mm,
They ended up taking Jalen Hurts out and
mhm.
Tua in, and he threw the touchdown pass to end the game to Devontae Smith, and they landed in my lap, basically. They ran straight to me in the end zone while we were on the field at the end of the game. And it was a very unique situation because it was my first national championship game that I went to and I covered.
Oh,
So,
cool.
yeah, and it was when I first got into the business. So it was a very unique experience, and it just happened to be one of the greatest college football games other than Vince Young and
I was
USC.
going to say,
Yeah,
excuse
yeah.
me.
But one of those surreal moments where the game came down to overtime, big throw, big play, touchdown, game over, and pandemonium is happening on the field. That Nick
Yeah.
Saban's running around looking like Jim Valvano, looking for somebody to hug. And so
Yeah.
it was a pretty doggone cool moment. As far as the University of Texas and covering this university, there's so many different moments that you can look back on and say, okay, this is pretty doggone cool for what I saw. You can look at the Notre Dame game with Tyrone Swoops and everybody yelling,
Oh,
this
man,
is,
that's a good
yeah,
memory. Yeah.
yeah, Notre Dame game where everybody's
Yeah.
like, oh, Texas is back. And then you realize,
Oh,
well, maybe
God.
not. Then same instance, going to the Sugar Bowl and
Beating
watching
Georgia?
Texas beat Georgia, the pregame stuff where Bevo almost gored Uga, people trying to kind of scattering themselves, and it just happened to be in New Orleans on New Year's Day. So there's just so many different moments that I had while covering this team. But you have to look at Oklahoma, Texas, Oklahoma, the 49 to
Mm.
nothing just recently. That to me was one of the most dominant performances that I think we will ever see. Those moments you sit back and you look at it, and a 49 to nothing, you got a donut in that game. That is truly impressive. And then
Yeah.
you're walking around the fairgrounds and watching people's faces. It's a pretty unique deal. So I would say those are some of the major moments that I've had where you're just like, wow, that really happened.
Yeah. I love that. What do you think your superpower is? Because your show is super early. Yes, I'm saying that on purpose. And you're talking, I don't want to say you're talking about the same thing, because you don't. You do a really good job of like talking about different things, but there's always some Texas football, there's always some Texas stuff.
Mhm.
We would be lying to ourselves if we didn't say that we sometimes we don't wake up and we're not tired and we're not, family stuff is happening, the weather's terrible, whatever it is. What is that superpower that you feel like you lean on, that you're like, this this kind of takes me over the edge whenever I need to like go to that toolbox of energy source.
People like yourself, because I
Mm.
know if you're spending the time to get up early in the morning to listen, I know you have made some adjustments. You do a lot more with the podcast side of it, so that's fair. That's fair. When I was in the afternoon, I knew I could count on you. I knew you was gonna be there. Early in the morning, I get it. I get it. But
Can I just
but
say
my
though, it gets to the point now where I listen and I'm like, I'm awake, but I think I know what he's saying, but I can't focus. I find myself lately going around like 2:30 and being like, what did he say in that segment?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
it's like I need that reminder. I'm like, right, okay, yeah, I do agree. Yeah,
yeah,
okay, I
yeah, yeah,
agree.
yeah. Yeah, so people like yourself that as soon as that microphone cracks open, I gotta bring it to you because it's so easy, as you were talking about. People are creating so much content nowadays that it's easy for you to say, well, he sounds kind of tired today. I don't need that. I needed some energy this morning. So
Yeah.
let me go over here and turn to this station, because before there was only one station that you could listen to. Now you got multiple platforms that you can say. Everybody's got an app. Everybody can jump on the phone and do some different things, because nobody wants a pity party every single day. You want to be able to
Nope.
wake up, be ready to go, because I got to bring you energy so you can get through your morning.
Hmm.
And I was told a long time ago, don't nobody care what's going on in your world.
Facts.
Well, you got to make
We
sure that,
care. Yeah.
yeah, whatever's going on
Yeah.
behind you and what's going on with your life, they don't really care right now. They want you to bring them every single day. And it took a while because there were some struggles. There were some times where it's like, man, I'm tired as hell. I wish I could mail it in, but you can't. You can't. And I love what I do. And so it's a lot of work, it's a lot of time. It's a lot of effort. You got to find those moments. And like you said, I don't, I think sometimes I get to the point where if I'm listening to me, I don't want it all to be about Texas. I don't want it all, because there's so many people moving here every single day that I want
Hmm.
to try to be one of those deals where I'm not just local. I want to be a national guy. I want to be a guy that
Yeah.
people, when they come in, they were like, "Hey, have you heard Harball Hardge yet? Y'all need to listen to him." Or
Yeah.
somebody listens that are in from out of town, or another station. Like when we were at SEC Media Days, you know me, I like to network. I like to see what's going on. I got to see what's happening. And, I can get somebody from another market to come on to our show, and somebody from that other market will ask me to come on
To
their
go to
show.
there.
So it creates more of a fan base. If they like what I said, they may come over and check me out. If they don't like what I said, they
It's
still might
funny.
come over to check me out because they want to give me crap and say, "This dude's full of it,
Yes.
man." You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you just gotta make sure that when that mic is on, nothing else matters except for you guys in the car, you working out at the gym, you on your walk with your dog. I want you to make sure that you wake up in the morning and say, I know Mike got me today because he's gonna give me something funny. I know that. So let me go ahead. Let me go ahead and
Yep.
tune in to my boy. So
It's funny too because me and my dad, we like sometimes my dad will hear, sometimes a lot of times when I'm spot checking is because my dad heard something differently than I heard. And I'm
right.
like, are you sure that's what he said? Anyways, and so, but it's interesting because the way that, and this has been my life for forever. I've always consumed sports talk, always. And so
Mhm.
for me, it's not anything new. But what I'm realizing now is I'm older. And so I
Mhm.
expect like I like to like what I expect from the people I listen to. And so it's nice. That's why I said it's nice to know that I get Texas. I'm always going to get Texas. That's fine. But I'm also getting other things. And
Yep.
so many times I don't get that in a lot of places. And this isn't about me, but I'm about to make it about me for like 2 minutes. When I decided to create a YouTube channel, there was a couple of people that I kind of had in my mind of like, Like, I love the way Rachel Maddow is brilliant and presents information. She's flawless. She researches to the cows come home, and I respect the hell out of that. So it's like, I love that about her. I love the way Roland Martin talks facts, and he doesn't care what anybody says about his facts. So I'm stealing that from him. Like, there's this other content creator, her name is Without a Crystal Ball, and she talks about cults, but I love the way she does her videos. And then I love the way you talk and you have conversations with people. I don't even want to call them interviews. And so it's like, I'm taking that from you, but it's like, I'm taking all of these like people and I'm like, how can I become that person? And so it's like, that's the other thing I feel like you're giving that you might not always hear a lot of, is you're presenting things differently. But with all those people I just mentioned, nobody loses themselves in what they're doing. And that is a quality you can't often find. Right. And you know when it's for the camera or for the content or for the thing. And I just appreciate that about you, that I know that you're doing this and you're going to crack a joke and you guys are going to laugh and something's going to happen. Right. You know, it's like, I need that, you know, like I watch for that. So I appreciate that. And if you're a content creator listening to this, or if you are a person that's trying to find content creators to consume, find people that are real people. And I'll
that's what I try to be all the time. That's where I try to be all the time, because I know you've heard me say this before, but I had a guy that now works for ESPN on the radio side. He does some TV stuff. We had lunch one day when I first got into the business, and, you know, I replaced the legendary Sean Adams when he passed away, his unfortunate passing. And he was always that motivational guy. He was always giving us the thought for the day and all this other stuff. And I tried that in the very beginning, and I struggled at it because I saw what he left, right? I listened to him. I was a fan. So I was always there for that. And not only was I a fan, I was one of his closest friends at the time too. So I was around him a lot. And I kept trying to bring that sort of pizzazz or whatever. And one of the guys told me, he said, Mike, his name was John Madani. He used to be at at AM 1300 The Zone, right? So we sat down and we talked, and he said, Mike, let me explain something to you, buddy. I listen to you and I get where you're trying to go. But let me tell you this, be yourself, because everybody else is taken. And I promise you, people will be fine with you. They're not getting Sean back, but they got a new you. So just be you. And I came home, I rethought everything, and I was like, he's right. So the next day, and since then, I've been Mike Harball Hardge and just been rolling ever since then.
I love that. I love how people in our lives sometimes give us that reality check of like, no, this ain't it.
That ain't you, Doc. That ain't you, Doc.
So
I see where you're going, but that ain't for you.
So let's get into a little bit of Texas football. So I'm going to ask you the question, and because I talked to the. Let me just ask the question. So the question is, do you think about the 4th and 5 more often than the 3rd and 17? When I talked to Fire the Cannon, they brought up a good point. And they also mentioned Colt McCoy going down in the championship game. So I'm assuming you know what the 4th and 5 is. 4th and 5 is Vince Young championship. 3rd and 17, LSU, Texas. And then obviously Colt McCoy going down against Alabama. Like, what moment, because obviously it's different emotions across the scale of each thing.
Correct.
Which moment do you feel like you randomly find yourself thinking about, or that randomly enters your psyche?
To be perfectly honest with you, none of them. I don't think about them at all. The 4th and 5, I wasn't there. I was supposed to be in California, decided not to go. I was in my now in-laws' living room, and Vince scores a touchdown, and I embraced my now brother-in-law, for like 30 seconds. We just jumped up and down together, hugging, and we were trying to decide if we was going to go to Guadalupe and go down there and celebrate, and by running down the street during that time. The 3rd and 17, I was actually on the field when that play happened against LSU. And then the Colt McCoy game, I just could not fathom Colt not going back in the game. Like I did
That's how I
not
was.
understand it. I just did not understand how he didn't go back in the game. I mean, obviously we know now, documented and seeing what happened, but I just couldn't fathom it. But now, now that you've put that in my head, I often think about, if there was a play that I think about a lot, it is Ricky Williams breaking the record against Texas A&M at home. Yeah, on Thanksgiving. I think that play
That's a good one.
resonates. Yeah, I think it resonates to me more because of what it signified, right? He became the all-time leading rusher. Now, it ended up getting broken right away the next year, but when you sit back and you look at the significance of what the University of Texas was at that particular time and what Ricky meant after he was supposed to leave, and he ended up staying for Mac Brown, and then for him to ultimately achieve that and then go on to win the Heisman. I mean, I think of that more than I do any of the other ones. I think because the 4th and 5 deal, because of LHN, you saw it so much, right? Like it was on LHN all the time. So it just kind of like, I mean, how many more times can I see this dude run into the end zone, right? Like they don't, and they never play that Alabama game. You know what I'm saying? Where Coach got hurt. They don't ever play that game right there. So you just sit back and you look at it and you're like, man, that A&M game meant a little bit more because you think about the rivalry being gone and now it's back. So
the funny thing is, that's a good point. That's a good point. The funny, I'm an AFC North football girl. So unfortunately, or fortunately for me, every damn time Justin Tucker lines up to kick a field goal, I remember the field goal he kicked against A&M that won the game, and I have
the last time they played each other.
And I have all of these mixed feelings come rushing back, and I'm like, make it, miss it.
Exactly.
I hate the fact he plays for the Ravens. I hate the fact that he plays for the Ravens. Like, it irks my bones. Like, like nobody else. It's probably the same way I'm going to feel about Worthy, but it just bothers me that he plays for the Ravens. But it's fine. Do you, Justin Tucker? So let's talk Texas football. Like I said before, I sent you the questions, but I feel like sometimes these go off and we'll be fine. So just if we don't follow the questions, it's fine. But you were at SEC Media Day. What does it feel like? Like, what is it? Like, how does it feel like when you stepped in? Did you feel like you were like at home? Like, this is right where we're supposed to be? Did you feel like we were like the main event? Did you feel like how did you feel it went for Texas? Not obviously, I watched the interviews and stuff like that. That's fine. But like, how did you feel like the energy was, or like the vibe was around there?
The vibe was perfect. And what I mean by that is the expectation of the University of Texas joining the SEC was what I thought it was going to be. It was one of those deals where everybody wanted to talk Texas. They were the show pony when they came in. Everybody believed that this was exactly placed. And I told some people this today, and you might have heard me talk about it on the show. I was there from Sunday to Thursday. Monday and Tuesday, everybody was casual. Everybody had on either a collar shirt, a sweatshirt, or whatever. Wednesday, when Texas and Alabama showed up, everybody was suited and booted. Everybody had on their Sunday best and business. And I kept using the analogy of Jim Ross, the great commentator for WWE. Business has just picked up.
Yeah.
when Stone Cold comes running to
Yeah.
the ring. That's what I felt like when Texas came in, and the aura, in which they carried themselves, and it's top to bottom. I'm talking about Sark was on his game, Quinn Ewers, Jade Barron, Kelvin Banks. They were all on top of their game, and everybody wanted a piece. Everybody wanted a piece of the action. And you know as well as I do, when you're the new kid, everybody wants to
Mhm.
talk to the new kid. And with
Unless you're
Oklahoma,
Oklahoma. Oh.
right, and with Oklahoma, right, and that's what I was just about to say. When Oklahoma was there, it was just, I don't know, maybe it was Venables. I don't know. Maybe it's just the way that Venables presents. Because Sark got swag. Sark's gonna come in, he gonna talk his talk. He's got flair, he dresses to the part. Not saying that Venables don't dress to the part, but he's not gonna give you anything. He's a
Yeah.
defensive minded guy. He wants to come in, he'll punch you in the mouth and be ready to fight, but he ain't coming in with the microphone and cutting no WWE promos.
That's
Sark will
true.
cut a promo. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Sark is ready. He'll tell you. You start listening to his quotes. The standard is the standard, and it won't change. It's just certain things that presented. So to answer your question, people wanted to talk Texas. People wanted to talk to anybody that covered Texas. The people that were there that covered the university. Everybody got business that day because everybody wanted to talk about it. Everybody wanted to talk about it.
I love it. I love that. So at the end of the season, everything's done. It's the last game, whenever the last game happens to be for Texas. And you were looking back on the season. What does success look like to you? Like, what are you can, and if you want, you can give me like your lofty goal. You're a Cowboys
Mhm.
fan, so you better have a lofty goal. But when
Mhm.
you really like take a step back and you like assess what's happened, how would you measure success as a fan?
Well, here's the bottom line. If Texas isn't competing for an SEC championship, it's going to be considered a failure. And here's why. Every media person that has seen this Texas team from top to bottom, you have a head coach that's been here for his fourth year. You have a 3-year starting quarterback. You have an offensive lineman that's projected to go in the top 10. You have a senior center that has been there for a while. And then you have an offensive line that's steady, and you can replace all those weapons on the outside. You replace them with guys that are projected to be even better than them. Then you flip it onto the defensive side. You've got some young players that not even considered young anymore with Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton. These guys
Mm-hmm.
are the
Isn't
most
that
experienced.
funny?
They're supposed to be the next line of defense, right? And then you bring in
Yeah.
older guys from Arizona to sit on that a defensive line as well. You got an up and coming sophomore in Anthony Hill, who
Anthony
everybody
Hill.
projects him to be a junior, who is projected to be a first round pick when he comes out. You got a freak freshman that is number one player in the state of Texas and like top 4 in the country in Colin Simmons on the defensive side. You got Jade, who's been here for 12 years. And then you bring in Andrew Makuba from Clemson, who's a star. You got Michael Taft, who's been playing a lot. And then you got the guys on the outside. And the thing is, they have depth. They have a lot
Mm-hmm.
of depth. So if Texas is not playing for an SEC championship, I would be highly disappointed.
Okay.
It's week to week. I mean, this is the toughest league. They're in it, but they are set up to be in the SEC championship game. And if they're not, it'll be disappointing.
I love our freshmen,
Mm-hmm.
and I've already, so the way this is going to release, I've already made but I wanted to make my final videos before I did this so that my opinions weren't skewed. And I was interested to
Mm-hmm.
see how I was thinking about all my teams compared to how other people that create content for the teams are thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look at the Texas team, and I've said this thousands of times, the way that I judge teams is by their depth. I think that's what makes the Steelers so good. And that's why nobody could understand why the Steelers, I don't know why I'm holding this pen, why people can't understand why the Steelers do what they do. It's because of their depth. It's because if somebody goes down, no one's replacing TJ Watt. Now go with me here, but the next guy up isn't as bad as the other guys, as the other teams. Right. And so there's this little bit of thing. So that's how I'm looking at Texas is, like everything you just said, and then you bring in the freshmen that if any of them hit at any time this year, it's just a bonus.
Yep.
It's literally just another thing where we can go, check, thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think the way you're viewing it is spot on, because a lot of people still don't believe. You know what I'm saying?
Which is
because
fair.
Because of what we've seen. It goes back to the conversation we were having about, is Texas about to turn that corner? Yeah. Do we truly know? I believe so. I want to believe that Texas is that team. But if they're not, how far off are they?
See, and that's the other, and I also think it's so hard. So I made my prediction video and it will be out well before this, so I can talk about it. I think the SEC is going to have a 10-2, 9-3 problem. I think it's going to impact the college football playoffs. And I think it has the potential to impact the SEC championship game, because who you lost to and when you lost and all, you know how it goes, all the things. Mm-hmm. And so that's why for me, I'm like, if they're just in the conversation and they don't make it because of, you know how this goes, because of a coin flip and so-and-so got in and Texas didn't, but they're 10-2
points and all this other stuff.
I won't be upset with that, because it's like, you guys try, whatever. So, so I agree with you. I think success is that SEC game. And I would even take it a step further and say, we have to get into the playoffs. I think if we don't get into the playoffs, it's a fail. Like, Absolutely. It's not, there's no reason why we shouldn't get into the playoffs. There's absolutely no reason.
Right. With 12 teams, if Texas not that, going back to it, if Texas is not one of the 12 teams, something miserable happened in our life.
Something went wrong. So the other question I want to ask, that I love asking people that are focused on their team specifically, is what do you think people aren't talking about when it comes to this Texas football team? Everybody has a little bit of Texas fatigue right now. Everyone it's kind of funny. Like this, I'm a Colorado supporter, that I'm riding with Colorado, love the Steelers, love Texas. There's something about anything you slap Coach Prime on, people are clicking. Yep. Right now, anything you put Texas on and you can make it kind of controversial, people are clicking, because they're like, what, who? So what is it, though, that you think to the core of us that we do well or whatever, that you just don't feel like is just getting talked about?
I think it has to be Bert Auburn. I think our kicking game. Because you sit back and you think about some of the games that were played last year and how important and crucial he was in so many situations. And everybody's talking about this offense and how explosive it's going to be. Nobody's talking special teams. And I think our special teams are going to be even better this year than what they were last year. The one thing you brought it up earlier, you talk about Justin Tucker and how you got this love-hate relationship with him. It's the same thing. Bert Auburn, not as far as how far he can kick the ball, but his consistency plays a major role in Texas's success. It's SEC. Every game is going to be tough. You're going to have to get points on the board all the time. And
oh my God. Sark, did you hear that? Sark, did you hear that? Points on the board. Okay.
Yes. When you got a chance to score, I don't care nothing about no binder. I don't care nothing about anything that you talking about over there. Put points on the board and put them in a position, especially if your team is driving all the way down the field and you have possession of the ball. Take the points, man.
Please, just I don't care how much you squat until you're squat.
Yeah, exactly. Take the points, man. Yeah, you know how they always say all money ain't.
I got triggered.
Yeah, all money ain't good money, but if you ain't got no money, it's good money.
Period.
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
when you're in a tight game. Kick the freaking
Yes.
field goal.
Make them. Yeah, believe in your defense more than you believe in your offense, brother.
Man, I tell people all the time because I think I'm pretty objective when it comes to my teams, and some fan bases appreciate my objectivity, and some fan bases are like, "Oh my gosh, you're hating," and I'm like, listen, the way I talk about Steve Sarkisian, and
Mhm.
he was 11-1 last year, the way that I talk about Mike Tomlin, who's never had a losing season, get in line, okay?
Yeah,
Because I
exactly.
let these guys have it on a weekly basis. Get in line. Everybody
Yep,
else can get it, okay? So
yep.
like, but that's how I am as a fan. I know I can be a little aggressive, but like,
That's all
take
right.
the
That's
points,
what you're
please.
supposed to be. Let's get the point.
Take the
That's right.
points. So
Absolutely.
whenever you look at the games, and we know the games, right? And Georgia's not an option to answer this question because that's kind of like that's the answer, but we're not
Yep,
doing
yep,
Georgia. When you look at
yep.
the schedule, what game are you looking at where you're like, you know what? This game is going to matter, or this game concerns me, and maybe it shouldn't concern me, but there's something about this I don't like.
Well,
What
there's a
game is
couple of
that
them.
for you?
There's
Okay.
a couple of them. One of the biggest ones is obviously Kentucky. It's later.
Mm,
You start looking at it. Mark Stoops, one hell of a coach, explosive offense, exciting defense. That's a game. Texas A&M is definitely a game because I believe that Texas is going to be in a position at the end of the year where the game is actually mattered. Obviously,
mhm.
records don't matter. It's like Oklahoma. The records don't matter. Both of those teams can be defeated. But when that game happens, it's the Super Bowl, right?
Right.
So we all understand what that's about. But the game that I'm most looking forward to is Mississippi State. And you say, why
Ooh,
Mississippi State? Number one, it's the first game, very
and first
first
SEC
game,
game.
SEC game. It's at home. A lot of a lot of energy is going to be there. Blake Shapen is the quarterback for Mississippi State. He knows
Okay.
Jeff Levy's offense. He was under that offense at Baylor, and he came from Baylor with him, and he's one hell of a quarterback. I talked to a coach yesterday, and I
That's a
was
good
like, "What do you think of
call.
Shapen?" I was like, "What do you think of Shapen?" He said, "I love that kid." I said, "I think he's in the right spot, and he's going to be better than what people think because he too understands the ins and out of that offense."
Okay.
So it'll be interesting, but it's the first game of SEC, and I think that's going to be one that a lot of people are going to be paying attention to because it is that first game.
I never would have. I saw it on the schedule, but I never. You've surprised me with two answers today. Mississippi State is a shocker,
That's what I
and
do.
the
You know what I'm
the
saying?
kicker is
Yep.
like,
That's why you
you're
come to
talking
me. You know what I'm
real.
saying? Yeah.
I was just gonna say, you're talking real football talk when somebody mentions the kicker. Like shit gets real when you talk about the kicker.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
somebody asked me at one point last year when I was pissed at the Steelers, and I said, and your wife probably feels the same way I do about some of these things about the Steelers, but I said, you know what my favorite player is? Chris Boswell, and they're like, who is that?
Right. Right.
Like, why is he your favorite? I'm like, because he's the kicker and he
Because he's
does
the
the
kicker.
job. And,
Exactly.
everybody else is pissing me off. So it's like,
Yep.
anytime you know the kicker, that means you're a fan of the team.
Absolutely.
That's my final answer because that poor guy, sometimes nobody knows who that guy is.
And
So
sometimes nobody wants to talk to that
no,
guy.
no. So as we wind down here, I thought it would be cool to like end with, I've been in these, well, you know this because you know me personally, but like I'm big into like words and like affirming yourself, positive
Mhm.
thinking, and all these like cool, fancy, crazy ways that I do that for myself. So I thought it would be cool to ask, and I'm not going to ask the other question because I think you already answered it, so I won't repeat us, but what is something that you would tell your younger self? Like, what is something that younger Harge could benefit from hearing that you wish that you could tell yourself then?
Stay disciplined because
That's
it's so easy to drift. It's so easy to have success and not realize that the success that you had came with a price.
Mm.
And in order to continue to achieve those successful moments, you have to continue to stay disciplined in your course. Because I mean, I'll be honest, there was many a drifting from your boy,
Mm-hmm.
and it was easy to get off track.
Yeah.
And
Always is.
if there was something that I could truly do, it would definitely be, hey, Mike, you got a big opportunity in front of you. Stay as
Yeah.
disciplined as you possibly can. Fight off all them demons and the things that you think are important to you, and focus on what really is important to you. And I think if I would have told myself that, it'd be totally different life. But I learned from it to where I
Mm-hmm.
am now, and now it makes me who I am today, because it did take some time, but I truly understand it, and that's why I try to pass those lessons on to my sons and make them understand it as well, and my daughter, because she.
And
Woo.
your your son is now a Steelers fan, though, because of Wilson, or is he just a
Yes.
Wilson fan?
No.
Okay.
He's a Wilson fan, and he's a Steeler fan too. Like,
Okay, so we gained a
so
fan.
now,
Okay, I'll
yeah,
accept
you
him.
gained
He knows
another
what's
fan.
up.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
cool.
Yep. Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Just want
He's
to make
all
sure.
in
We
on
want to
that.
make sure we're
Yep.
moving in the right direction. Okay, perfect.
You are.
And then the other question I had, well, and it's not really a question. I think when you say discipline, because you know this, I work out every day. Do I go
Mhm.
hard every day, lift weights every day, straighten myself? No. Some days I literally go in there and walk on the treadmill for 45 minutes on incline, right? So it's not about, for me, it's not about the workout. It's about it's
But you're
about doing it every
disciplined.
single day.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Because it impacts
Absolutely.
the way I eat. It impacts the way I schedule. It impacts the time I dedicate to myself. I don't know why
Mhm.
people don't get this, but I know every day I will have my own time in my own
Mhm.
space. I can like take care of myself. But I think that people don't realize that discipline doesn't mean that you won't screw it up sometimes. It
Absolutely.
just means find your way and like stay on that thing, because I
You're
hear that
holding
a lot.
yourself accountable. You're holding yourself
Yeah.
accountable to you.
Yeah.
So as I go back to what I said at the very beginning, there's only one you. You can't be
Mhm.
anybody else. So if you're going to hold yourself accountable and position yourself in some sort of way, to your point, I may not go in there and knock it out of the park every single day, but I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna give you what I got.
Mhm.
You won't know
Some will
that
be
I didn't knock it
pissed.
out of the park. Yeah, you didn't know that I didn't knock it out of the park. You're gonna be like, oh damn, that was awesome. But I walked
Yeah.
by 45 minutes and I did what I needed to do, and now on to the next thing.
And that's it. And
Yep.
you said there's only one of you. There can't be two of me. Okay. This world is not ready for two. Us together would get in so much trouble. Okay. So let's just
Exactly.
be glad.
Both
So
of y'all will be in trouble. That's right.
it would be
That's
a
right.
hot mess. Okay. So, well, I appreciate that. And I want to close this out with just giving you a chance to say whatever you want. I sometimes feel like when I have these conversations, I don't allow the other person, just like you might have come into this wanting to say something or wanting to talk about something that maybe I didn't prompt us to talk about. So I didn't
Mhm.
know if you had anything else that you wanted to share, that you wanted to add to the conversation.
No, I think, like I said, I think you do a great job, and you put yourself out there by creating this, and now you're gaining more fans every single day. You're doing some different things. You're in the sports realm, and it's tough. It's tough sometimes, but the energy that you bring every single day is something that people can feed off of. And I would
Mm.
encourage you to continue to do that, because, as you said to me, there's some days I wake up and I'm just like, damn, I got to go in here and get this show going. But as soon as that red light pops on and that mic cracks open, you'll never know that I didn't want to be there. You know what I'm
It's true.
saying? Like,
I love that.
and you just got to bring it every single day. So keep up the great work. Continue doing you. And as you said, I don't know if we can handle two of you, but it is what it is.
I'm a mess. I'm like the best mess ever, but I'm a mess. Like, and I've started leaving my messes in my editing too lately. So it's like at any moment my video I released today, I was talking, I just stopped talking. I sat there and I'm like, what am I even saying?
Yeah,
But
you
it's
sounded
like
like
I
you sounded like Deshaun Foster from UCLA.
yeah. You know what's funny? This is gonna be terrible. I'm gonna say this. one of my friends watched and they were like, "You pulled a Mitch McConnell. You died right in front of us."
Hey, sometimes you got to make it do what it do.
Yeah. I was like, listen, I forgot what I was saying. Like, I just forgot.
Right.
So
Yeah.
anyways, well, you know how much I appreciate you. And like I said, I think as I get older, I realize that the people that support you, and not just support you by like showing up and doing this, it's the little things. It's the, hey, I watched this random video, I think this, or hey, I know you talked about that, or hey, did you see this? Or hey, you have a show, I'm going to retweet. Like, all of these other ways that we can support people that we care about is important. And so I just want to thank you for that, and just being consistent, a consistent, whatever it is, whether it's the show is consistent, the talking point about a topic is consistent. There's something about a consistent person that I just don't think we give enough credit to. So I wanted to say thank you, because I appreciate that. And you're right. There's some mornings where I want to cuss you out that you have this early show, but you know what? I'm like, let's go. What is the time? I can't wait for the topic today.
Exactly.
So, and then also my favorite thing, I haven't told you this. I think I told you this, but I didn't go on, is anytime you interview Sark, it's a totally different interview. So whatever you do when you have your conversations with him, there's something about the way he talks to you, and because it's the same stuff, right? We know it's coaches,
right.
But it's kind of, there's always like an extra nugget or like an extra something. So never lose that. Whatever you're doing when you talk to him, however y'all decide those or prep those or whatever, it's always good. So just keep that, whatever it is. Yeah, it's always like that. Yeah, and I love it, because I'm like, I know I'm going to get a little something if it's an extra energy, an extra answer to a random question, or like it's just always something cool. So I needed to tell you to keep that, and I wanted to keep it so everybody knows how I feel about it, because I think it's important.
Well, I appreciate it, T. As always, anytime you need me, I'll make time for you, because you have been a big supporter of mine. And as we've talked about before, we all we got, man. We got to make sure we keep pushing each other and making it work. So I appreciate you taking the time, and keep up the great work.
Thank you. Oh, hook 'em. We hadn't done it once, and then here we go. Let's make people triggered with the hook 'em.
Yeah, that's it.
All right.